All right, today we're diving into something pretty wild, a new way to build AI agents. We're not just talking about agents that can follow our instructions. We're talking about agents that can actually write their own instructions. It's a huge leap.
So think about it. Your AI agent can follow instructions, right? We're all pretty used to that by now. But can it write new ones? Can it learn a brand new skill right on the spot without you having to code it from scratch? That's the big question we're tackling. Okay, section 1. The monolithic prompt problem. You know, to really get why this new approach is such a big deal, we got to look at the problem it's solving. Right now, most AI agents are built using what's called a monolithic prompt. And honestly, it's starting to cause some serious growing pains. So what is a monolithic prompt? Well, imagine you're trying to bake a cake, but instead of just pulling out the recipe, you pull out every single cookbook you own and lay them all out on the counter. That's kind of what we're doing. We're stuffing everything, every rule, every style guide, into one gigantic prompt. It works okay for simple stuff, but the bigger your agent gets, the slower and more expensive it becomes. It's just super inefficient.
And the cost is no joke. You're paying for every single token you send to the language model, every single time. And with the monolithic approach, you're sending thousands of them, whether the agent needs them for that specific task or not. But check this out, this agent skills architecture we're talking about, it can slash that token usage by up to 90%, a 90% reduction. That is a massive, massive win for speed and cost.
So, section 2, the progressive disclosure solution. How in the world do you get a 90% reduction like that? Well, it's all about a really smart design pattern called progressive disclosure. The core idea is just beautiful in its simplicity. Give the agent only what it needs, exactly when it needs it. Nothing more, nothing less.
It breaks down into 3 levels, and a great way to think about it is with a cooking analogy. Think of your agent as a chef. At level 1, all the chef sees is the menu, just a list of the dishes they can make. That's the L1 metadata. Then a customer orders something, so the chef moves to level 2 and pulls up the full recipe for that one dish. That's the L2 instructions. And finally, for each step in the recipe, the chef grabs only the specific ingredients needed. That's L3 resources. See how that works? The countertop stays clean, and the whole process is just way more efficient.
Okay, section 3, building skills, 3 patterns. So that's the theory. Now let's get practical. How do you actually build these skills? Well, there are 3 main patterns, and they kind of build on each other, getting more and more powerful as we go.
All right, first up is pattern 1, the inline skill. I like to call this the sticky note pattern. It's for simple, stable rules that you define right there in the agent's code. It's perfect for stuff that's not really going to change.
A perfect use case here is something like a simple SEO checklist. The instructions are literally hard-coded. So when your agent needs to review a blog post, it sees the SEO checklist skill available, loads those simple instructions, and just does it. It's super quick, easy to implement, and gets the job done.
But okay, what happens when your instructions are more complicated than a sticky note? What if you need to look something up in a big manual? That brings us to pattern 2, the file-based skill. Think of this one as the reference binder.
This is where things get way more modular. The main instructions live in their own markdown file, like a skill.md file. But here's the cool part. That skill can also point to other external files. So let's say your agent needs to follow a really long, detailed company style guide. The agent follows the main instructions and only pulls in that big, clunky style guide when a specific step actually tells it to. It's so much smarter.
And this modularity, this idea that skills are just files, well, that leads to a really powerful question. If skills are just files, do you even have to write them yourself? What if you could just download them? And that, my friends, brings us to pattern 3, the external skill, or as I like to call it, the import. This is where it gets really cool, because these skills can follow a universal format. Like this agentskills.io standard, you can literally download and use skills that other people have built. It's just like using a software library or an NPM package for your agent. Instead of building a complex skill from scratch, you just find one someone else already made, import it, and boom, your agent has a brand new superpower. This is an absolute game changer for how fast you can build. Okay, section 4, the agent that writes itself. This is where we go from really cool to mind-blowing. We've talked about an agent using skills that we create for it, but what happens when the agent starts writing its own skills?
The key to this is something called a meta skill. It's exactly what it sounds like, a skill whose one and only job is to create other skills. It's an instruction set for making new instruction sets.
And the instruction at its heart is beautifully simple. When asked to create a new skill, generate a complete skl.md file. You basically teach this meta skill what a valid skill file looks like, maybe by giving it the official spec or an example to copy, and just like that, you've created a little skill factory inside your agent.
So let's walk through an example. A user comes along and says, "Hey, agent, create a skill for writing technical blog introductions." Now, the agent checks its toolkit, and it doesn't have a skill for that, not yet anyway.
And this is the magic moment. The agent recognizes, hey, I don't know how to do that. So what does it do? It activates its own skill creator meta skill. It looks at the spec, thinks for a second, and then generates a brand new, totally functional skill file for writing blog intros. Just like that, the agent has extended itself. It literally just taught itself a new skill on the fly.
Okay, Section 5. Why this changes everything. I mean, you can see it, right? This isn't just a clever party trick. This is a fundamental shift in how we think about agents. We're moving away from building static tools and towards creating systems that can dynamically evolve and expand their own capabilities.
So if you're excited and you want to start building with this, here are a few pro tips to keep in mind. First, your skill descriptions are everything. Think of them as your API documentation. Make them super clear, because that's how the agent figures out what to do. Second, don't overcomplicate things at the start. Begin with simple inline skills, and then graduate to file-based skills as they get more complex. And finally, and this is a big one, treat a skill generated by your agent just like you treat code written by a junior developer. You need to review it before you just let it run wild in production.
And all of this really leaves us with a pretty fascinating question, doesn't it? This whole architecture opens up an entirely new frontier. When our agents can learn and grow all by themselves, the question we have to ask is no longer just what can it do, but what do we want it to become? So I'll leave you with this. If an agent can write its own skills, what's the very next thing we should ask it to learn?